I was teasing my husband at a neighborhood party until he stood up and said he was leaving me. I'm using an anonymous account because this story is incredibly embarrassing, and I don't want my husband to find out I'm posting it. He follows my main account. I'm in a terrible situation, honestly. I have no idea what to do. My name is Lisa, I'm 24, and my husband Jack is 26. We've been married for 3 years and met in college. I never imagined things would end this way. I think it all started with misunderstandings and my thoughtless actions. I apologize if it all seems confusing. I'm still hurt and confused. Let me explain. Jack is an introvert while I've always been an extrovert. I love throwing parties, being surrounded by people, while Jack prefers quiet nights at home with a book or a movie. He always supported my social life, even if it wasn't his own. But I pushed things too far, and now I regret everything. Jack has always been somewhat submissive. I hate using that word, but it's the only one that fits. He always tried his hardest to make me happy, doing everything he could to ensure our relationship worked. I think I underestimated him because of this. I assumed he'd never leave me, that he loved me too much to confront any conflicts with me. Jack was the kind of guy who'd wake up early to get me my favorite coffee, cancel his plans to be with me when I was upset, and always prioritized my needs. He was kind, attentive, and eager to please. Over time, I started taking this for granted. I didn't realize how much he was putting into the relationship, or how my behavior was affecting him. I started pushing him away when I said I wanted to be a homemaker, even without children. He didn't hesitate to agree. But I started to relax too much, doing less around the house and expecting Jack to handle everything. After long days at work, he'd come home to a messy house and dinner still to be made. He never complained, but simply started doing everything. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of everything. I started to see him as weak, resenting his compliant nature. I wanted someone stronger, someone who challenged me, not someone who yielded to all my whims. I started going out more with friends, having fun while Jack stayed home. I made fun of him behind his back, joking about him with my friends, who encouraged this behavior. They said I deserved better, someone more on my level. The more I distanced myself, the harder Jack tried to hold on to me. He surprised me with gifts, planned romantic dinners, and talked about our future, but I was already emotionally absent. I didn't want someone to idolize me. I craved passion and excitement. Jack trying to please me and I pushing him away. I started flirting with other guys, enjoying the attention. Jack noticed but never said anything. He just kept trying harder to win me over, thinking his love would solve everything. As my respect for Jack faded, so did the respect of our friends. It wasn't just the jokes I made about him. It was the way I belittled him in front of others, rolling my eyes at his contributions to conversations or completely ignoring him. My friends followed my lead, treating Jack with less respect. They joked about how he was overly submissive or compliant, but Jack, always the peacemaker, would laugh, never showing that he felt hurt. Sometimes I'd see a flicker of pain in his eyes, but he'd quickly mask it with a smile, assuring me he just wanted me to be happy. I didn't realize how much this was affecting him, chipping away at his self-esteem. The few friends Jack had started drifting away, puzzled by his acceptance. They told him he deserved better, that he needed to stand up for himself, but Jack always defended me. He'd say I was going through a phase, that he loved me no matter what. The more he defended me, the weaker he seemed, and the more our friends and I lost respect for him. It was a cycle I couldn't break. I started spending more time with people who encouraged my independent spirit, suggesting I could find someone better than Jack, someone more my equal. Meanwhile, Jack withdrew further, immersing himself in work, taking on more projects, putting in extra hours. He became quieter, more reserved, and avoided social gatherings. When we did go out, he faded into the background, letting me shine. I was so caught up in my own world that I didn't recognize the impact of all this on him. Looking back, I see how unfair I was to Jack. He deserved better. He was a kind and loving partner, and I took him for granted. My own insecurities and needs for validation created a chasm between us, pushing away the one person who loved me unconditionally. There were so many moments where I disrespected Jack, and since I'm venting, I'll share a few. Forgive me if this gets lengthy. It all started months before the neighborhood party. Around the time I began distancing myself from Jack, I'd reconnected with old college friends who'd recently moved to the area. They were fun, carefree, and seemed to have the kind of life I thought I wanted. On a Friday night, my friend Tina invited me to a girls' night out. It was meant to be just dinner, but it quickly escalated into a bar hop and dance-filled evening. Jack, as always, encouraged me to go out and have fun, even giving me extra cash to cover expenses, which I accepted without a second thought. That night, for the first time, I openly teased Jack in front of my friends, fueled by the alcohol. I recounted how he did everything for me. how he let me be the homemaker even without children, how he never complained. Tina and the others laughed, encouraging me, and I reveled in the attention. The next morning, I awoke with a hangover and a gnawing sense of guilt. Jack, as always, had made breakfast for me after my night out. He asked how my evening was, but I gave a vague answer, avoiding specifics. I could see the concern in his eyes, but he didn't press. Instead, he said he was happy I'd had fun and that he loved me. The guilt quickly morphed into irritation, and I dismissed him in the following weeks, continuing my outings with my friends. Jack, though appearing increasingly weary, kept supporting me. Our conversations became brief, and the tension between us heightened. I sensed his disappointment but brushed it aside, convincing myself he'd never leave me. One night, Tina and a few other friends came over for a movie night. Jack prepared dinner for us and then retreated to his room for some space. After a few glasses of wine, the conversation shifted to Tina's conversation with her boyfriend, wishing he were as devoted as Jack, sparked further teasing. Comments circulated about Jack's supposed perfection, portraying him as subservient and under my control. Encouraged by alcohol, I joined in, mocking Jack's habits and his willingness to do anything for me. I even joked that if I told him to jump off a cliff, he'd ask what brand of rope to use. My friend's laughter fueled a sense of power, though a nagging awareness of wrongdoing persisted. Jack likely overheard the entire exchange, but remained silent. The following morning, he acted as though nothing had occurred, despite the unmistakable hurt in his eyes. He kissed my forehead, professing love, and rushed off to work. A flicker of guilt arose, quickly suppressed. A pivotal moment transpired a week before the neighborhood barbecue. Jack and I were invited. The sun blazed down on a pleasant day, and a celebratory mood prevailed. Jack was the quintessential host, expertly managing the grill, ensuring everyone had food and drinks, and exhibiting his usual kindness. The conversation inevitably shifted to relationships. We began discussing the dedication our partners demonstrated. I boasted about Jack's willingness to do everything for me, to satisfy all my desires, positioning him as the ideal partner. My friends erupted in laughter, joking about Jack's subservience and my supposed control. Jack, present but unheard, felt the sting of embarrassment, but my need for validation eclipsed any remorse. I readily joined in the ridicule, further diminishing Jack's standing. When we returned home, an unusual silence hung heavy in the air. Jack, without a word, retreated to bed, leaving me alone in the living room. I lingered, feeling a potent mix of anger and regret. I acknowledged my transgression but lacked the tools to rectify the situation. I falsely reassured myself that it was a fleeting issue, that Jack would forgive me, as he always had. I had no inkling that this barbecue would be the turning point. The neighborhood barbecue, a communal gathering intended for relaxation and camaraderie, marked a turning point. In this community-oriented area, these events were regular occurrences, opportunities for socializing and good times. But on this particular night, I made a profound error. Hosted by our neighbors, the gathering buzzed with cheerful energy. Jack, as usual, was diligently tending the barbecue while I mingled with my friends. Several drinks later, the conversation naturally drifted towards our partners. My friends, already familiar with Jack's attentiveness to my needs, found amusement in the subject. A comment about my good fortune and having a partner who did everything for me spurred me to elaborate, under the influence of alcohol. I boasted about how Jack never said no, how he always fulfilled my desires, and how he seemed to lack independence. Laughter and teasing ensued, with my friends relentlessly mocking Jack's apparent submission. At that moment, I noticed Jack's stillness. He stood, pale and expressionless, silently witnessing our banter. He walked over to where we sat, met my gaze, and announced the need for a private conversation. My surprise was palpable. Yet, despite the disruption, the atmosphere of the event continued its course. I felt the eyes of everyone on us. That's when Jack said he was done. At first, I thought it was a joke, but Jack wasn't smiling. He said he was tired of being disrespected, both by me and others. He told me he was leaving and that I wouldn't be returning to our home. He said my belongings would be on the porch. And with that, he walked away. I stood there, stunned. He left me in a state of shock. I could feel everyone's gazes on me, their expressions filled with pity. Perhaps they hadn't heard what was said, but the expressions on our faces and the way Jack left made it clear something terrible had happened. I ran after him, but by the time I reached home, Jack was already packing my things. I pleaded with him to stop, crying and trying everything I could think of to make him reconsider, but it was as if he had shut me out completely. He didn't even look at me, let alone listen to what I had to say. He continued packing, determined, until he was finished. He then threw my belongings outside and told me to leave. Initially, I refused, begging him to change his mind. But then he threatened to call the police. I knew he was serious, so I had no choice but to leave. As I walked away, I could feel the judgmental stares of the neighbors, even my so-called friends. None of them offered help or comfort. They just watched from a distance. I walked down the street, burdened by my possessions and tears streaming down my face. My mind was racing, trying to process what had just transpired. I had underestimated Jack for so long, never imagining he would act this way. Eventually, I went to a nearby park, still reeling, and called my father to come get me. Fortunately, he arrived quickly. He was disappointed to hear what had happened, but he took me home. I've been staying at my parents' house for a few days now, completely lost. I tried calling Jack, but he doesn't answer. He doesn't respond to my messages, and I simply don't know what to do now. Reflecting on everything, I realize how unfair I was to Jack. He was an amazing person, an attentive and devoted husband, and I repeatedly disrespected him. I let my friends influence me and neglected the man who loved me the most. I know the fault lies with me. I don't need people to keep reminding me of this. I didn't come here to be insulted. I sought advice. Look, I know I messed everything up. I don't need everyone to keep pointing it out. I'm trying to figure out how to fix things, but I don't know where to begin. I came here for advice, not judgment. Can you please stop the negativity? It's overwhelming, and I regret posting here. I wanted guidance, not judgment. To address some of your questions. No, I don't have a job at the moment. I mentioned this in my first post, so I don't understand why people keep asking. No, my relationship isn't over. I'm hoping we can work things out. Also, no, this isn't fake. I have better things to do than create a fabricated story just to post on Reddit. Yes, I know I need to get a job and start rebuilding my life, but it's hard to focus on that when all I can think about is Jack. I miss him so much, and it hurts knowing that my actions caused this. My actions have led me to this difficult place. I wish I could undo the choices I've made, but that's not possible. To those who offered genuine counsel, thank you. Your words have been a lifeline during this challenging time. However, for those who have only offered criticism, please understand that I am already grappling with the consequences of my decisions. I don't need further negativity. I'm striving to navigate this one day at a time, working towards redemption, and demonstrating to Jack that I can change. It won't be easy, but I'm determined to do whatever is necessary. If anyone has any truly helpful advice on how to deal with this, any insight would be appreciated. Honestly, I don't even know why I bother posting here anymore. Reddit feels so toxic, yet I have no other outlet. First, I want to express my profound gratitude to my parents. Without them, I likely wouldn't have a safe place to live right now. They've been my bedrock through everything, and I genuinely don't know what I would do without their support. Second, I've realized the shallowness of many of my friendships, including Tins. None of them have contacted me since the incident. Not a phone call, not a message. Their lack of effort reveals their true character, and I have blocked them all. Clearly, they never truly cared about me. Regarding my husband, we finally had a conversation, and he's resolved to pursue a divorce. I know he'll regret this and miss me, but I'm giving him what he wants. When he eventually seeks reconciliation, I won't accept him back. Now, I'm still trying to figure out my next steps. It's difficult to contemplate the future when everything feels so uncertain. I've sent out numerous resumes but haven't secured any interviews yet. It's disheartening, but I'm trying to maintain hope. I can't believe how quickly everything has crumbled. One moment, I was at the peak of my life, surrounded by friends, and the next I'm alone, with my life in ruins. It's a lot to process, and I'm struggling to accept it all. Despite everything, I am determined to move forward. I know I've made mistakes, and I'm willing to work hard on becoming a better person. Yet, it's difficult to overcome the sense of loss. I invested so much in my friendships and marriage, and now I feel I've lost everything. To those who have shown empathy and support, thank you. Your kindness means more to me than you realize. To those who have been judgmental, I hope you never experience a similar breakdown. It's easy to criticize from afar, but it's much more difficult when your entire world collapses. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm focusing on finding a job, saving money, and eventually securing my own place. It will be a long journey, but I'm determined to get there. I don't need pity or judgment. I only need the strength to move forward. Hello again, Reddit. I know I said this would be my last update, but I felt compelled to share one more detail. After months of toxic comments, I've stopped coming here. This is my final update. The divorce has been finalized. I'm still living with my parents and have secured a job, though though it's poorly paid and my father had to intervene to get it for me. I'm essentially beholden to him for the moment. Regarding the divorce, it was relatively straightforward. The house belonged to Jack even before we married. Given my role as a homemaker, I received a small amount of alimony, but not much. We have no children, so there were no custody issues to contend with. I tried to speak with Jack, but he firmly ended our relationship. It's heartbreaking that he seems happier without me. I know I messed things up and I can't forgive myself. I no longer want to be on Reddit. It's too toxic. But I owe you this final update to those who sent hateful messages. Find something better to do. Thank you, and goodbye. This is my last update. I thought this would be my last update, but I discovered something crazy. All my single friends, the ones who mocked my ex with me, are now trying to get with him. I learned this from a neighborhood acquaintance I met when I was with Jack. I didn't talk to her much because Tina didn't like her, but she filled me in on all the gossip. Apparently, my ex doesn't seem interested in any of them, which is good, because they're awful people. It's ironic how things turn out. The same people who drove a wedge between us are now vying for his attention. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but also a valuable lesson learned. That old acquaintance was surprisingly kind and didn't judge me for the past. She even offered to help if I needed anything. That was a relief. It's good to know there are still decent people out there. I'm still in this awful job, but at least it's something. I'm saving up, and I hope to move out of my parents' house soon. It's challenging, but I'm determined. Jack and I haven't spoken, and I've tried contacting him a few times, but he's truly moved on. Seeing him happier without me is a constant reminder of how I messed things up. I've started therapy, which is helping me reflect on my actions and understand why I behaved the way I did. It's a long road, but I'm committed to real change. This really is the final update. I'm trying to stay positive and focus on the future, taking each day as it comes. To those who offered constructive advice, thank you. Your support means more than you know. To those still sending hate, please move on. We all make mistakes. I'm doing my best to learn from mine. Life is too short to hold on to negativity. Thank you, and take care.